Yeah, the first time I got my bars run, that was like from seeing the ad in the paper when I first saw it, when I saw this little ad that says, "All of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory, call Mel." Well, it was weird because it was like something went off in my head. Like it was like this light bulb went off. And so I called this girl and she said, okay, so at worst case, it's going to be like you've had a great massage. At best case, your life will change. And I'd pretty much given up. Like I'd lost hope with my life basically. And I went and saw this girl and I was terrified. You know, it was like, I don't know, like going to the dentist and you'd never been there before. Like I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what was going to happen. And I walked in and she was really sweet and she said to me, okay, so just lay down on this table. It's all about receiving. And I was like, receiving? I didn't even know what that word meant. And so I lay down on this massage table and she said, okay, so I'm going to do this thing, just relax. And she said, do you mind if I ask you a bunch of questions and use this clearing statement? And I was like, go for it, like whatever, I don't care, whatever. And so she did it and she just started asking me questions. I don't even know what she was asking me, but I just lost it. I just started bawling my eyes out and didn't stop crying for an hour and a half. And just, it was all of this stuff that I just kept inside. I didn't tell anyone about, you know. So I was telling this girl that I just met all of these things about my life, and I got up after it and it's so interesting to try and put it into words because I got up after it and went, what just happened? Like, and I was like, okay, thank you. And I walked out to my car and I sat in the car and I just went, wow. Like I just sat there and just was like, wow, whatever just happened, I feel like me again. And it was wild. And then so I started getting bars sessions with this girl once a week after that at her house. And I would get so excited. Like this was like, oh, I get to go and get my bar. Like I'd think about it days before. I'd be like, I'm getting my bars run. I remember the first time I walked into this room in her house and she had this book stand there. And she had like a bunch of different books on it, but she had one that was Talk to the Animals. And it had Gary Douglas's face on the front of it. And as soon as I saw the picture of him, it was another one of those moments like where I saw that ad and I just went, who is that? And she was like, that's Gary Douglas. You know, he was the founder. He's the founder of Access Consciousness, and told me a little bit. And I was like, I have to meet him. I don't care what it takes. I have to meet this man. And it was another one of those moments. And it was like, it was weird, like in trying to put words to it weird, but in the sense of it, it wasn't weird at all. It was everything that I'd been asking for. And it was like, yeah. I also actually, that book stand, I also saw I think it was Magic, the Magic book, and it had a photo of Dane here on it with the palm leaf, you know, he was like half naked. And he was another one. I was like, who is that? I have to meet him and I have to meet him. They're the two I have to meet, you know. It's just, yeah. Okay, so I was getting my bars run. I was getting a session once a week, and I think that was probably 4 or 5 weeks. And then the girl that was doing that, she said, oh, I'm going to do a class on it. And I was like, you can learn this shit? You know, and so I was like, okay, sign me up, you know. And I went to this class and she had 4 people at it. One was my mother. I think one was my sister and somebody else. And because they saw me come home after I was getting my bars run and going, you know, at the time I was sharing a room with my son at my mum's house. And I'd come home, my mum would be like, what are you doing? Like, what's happening? You're getting happy. You don't seem like this depressed asshole that you've been, you know. And so she started asking about it. But this bars class, I did that and learnt the bars. And it was an awesome day because it was like, I was one of those people who was like, yeah, I'm probably going to screw this up too. Like, you can try and teach me, but I'll be probably bad at that too. It was so amazing to learn it and actually contribute that to somebody else as well. Like to have that, what was gifted to me, to be able to gift that to somebody and just have this sense that their world was changing also was just like, wow. And words, wow. But so I did that class, and then I said, I found out that Gary Douglas was going to be in Brisbane the next weekend. And I was like, I have to meet him. And she said, well, you got to get the prereqs to get to this class. And I said, okay, what is that? She said, foundation, the foundation class. And so I found out who could facilitate it. And I called this lady and I said, hey, I've got a problem. Like, I really want to do this class, and I've only got 4 days before Gary Douglas is here. And she was like, and I've got a full-time job, and I've got a son, and blah, blah, blah. And she said, okay, so what can you do? And I said, well, I could come after work. And she said, okay, let's do that. So she facilitated this 4-day class with me from 6 o'clock at night until midnight, 4 days in a row. And it was just, at that point, I was stunned with the kindness of people. Like, these people didn't even know me, and they were just like, hey, like, you want to do this? You want to change your life? We're here for you. And that actually, and talking about it now, that was one of the big changes in my life, was that kindness. It was people just going, hey, we're here for you. And so I did that class, and, we finished that manual on the way to Brisbane for this other class that Gary was doing. And I got to that class. So in a week, I'd done my bars class, the foundation class, the choice of possibilities class, and got to that class. And then my world's shattering. And then I'm at that class and I find out there's a 7-day event starting, in 5 days. And I'm like, how do I get to that? So I got to that too. And it's like, and did the 7-day event after that. And after those 4 classes, I just was like, I have no idea who I am anymore, but I've also never felt more like me. And the journey continues. I'm still here 11 years later.